Hello, beautiful Dr. Anthea Todd. I say doctor because I don't know you as Dr. Anthea Todd. We did our coaching set together and I just know you as Anthea. So, welcome to the Empowered Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Emma. It's nice to be seeing each other via a screen in this sense, as opposed to in a coaching sense. We're not being assessed. We're diving into each other's problems. We're helping others solve them, which is nice.
Yes, it's a little bit more relaxed. So,
Really.
for people who don't know you, though, I'm sure there are not many people who do. We should actually talk about how your story about how you blew up on Instagram because that was so fun to watch. But tell my audience a little bit about who you are and the work that you're doing in the world.
Yeah. Did that happen when I was doing the coaching?
Yeah,
Just
so
at
it's
that
right at
time?
the end. Yeah, right at the end.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So for those that don't know, I originally trained as a chiropractor. And when I was working as a chiropractor, I always wanted to be one. My parents both are. I grew up in a household that was very much the body is incredible. And when it gives you a symptom, it's trying to tell you something and understand what that is. Instead of, for instance, you have a headache, take a Panadol. It's, oh, you have a headache. Maybe you need to sleep or have some water or those types of things. So when I graduated from university, I was out and I was working with patients, and I thought, this is incredible. I'm going to help people. Like, I've heard all these dinner table conversations all growing up, hearing this from my parents. And then I started seeing people helping them, but there was other things that were going on. They're like, oh, I've got really painful periods, or I can't lose weight even though I'm cutting out calories and exercising like crazy, or I'm just fatigued all the time, or my hair's falling out. All this stuff that isn't really a chiropractic thing to care for and something that I was trained to refer out for. So I did, and a lot of them would come back and their blood tests would be normal. And they'd be like, they said there's nothing wrong, and they would just look defeated. And it's interesting because I think back now and I had this feeling of like rage is too stronger of a feeling, but just like this internal anger of this just is not right. This just seems unfair.
Mm,
This because it's clearly this is not normal for the body. I know this is not normal,
mm.
but everyone is telling you that it's fine and it's not. So then after moving to London at the start of 2020 and then the world being upheaved, I moved back. I was going to be young and free and in my early 20s and traveling the world. But then I thought, okay, I can't do that. And I really wanted to learn more about women's health because that was the main area that I saw this happening in. So then I went and studied a dual master's in reproductive medicine and women's health medicine, which is incredible and amazing. And I was doing that course with a lot of incredible practitioners in their field. And what I realized was that medicine is incredible and amazing when you need it.
Yeah.
So if it comes back on a blood test, it means that you need medication or surgery because that's the tools that that test is testing for.
Mm,
But when you don't need medication or surgery, it doesn't mean that there's not anything wrong.
yeah.
It just means that you're not bad enough for that. So, and particularly if over 60% of people have a chronic health conditions take time to come about. So we're missing the warning signs. So that's where I really started to identify, as a chiropractor in allied health, I was taught to refer out to medicine because they'll know what to do for these issues. But
Mm,
then that side of things, that I was taught that there was nothing wrong.
mm.
But then I'm like, well, there's this space, and I call it the space between symptoms and answers that so many women find themselves in, and we just put up with it, put up with it, put up with it. So many people experience it, so we confuse common with normal. It's like, oh, period pain, headaches, I get that too. Oh, I'm bloated all the time too. Oh, I'm a raging mess before my period. That's normal. It's not. We normalize it in pop culture.
Yeah.
It's not. It's a warning sign from our body. So that really spurred me on to then study functional medicine and then also energetic practices too, because I realized in my own health and the patients that I see that sometimes emotional things would be causing physical symptoms.
Mhm.
So I thought that was a really amazing sort of concept to add to my framework. And now from all of that, I've created Female Fundamentals, and I use a framework that helps people listen to their body, not their bias when it comes to their symptoms. And from that as well, I've written a best-selling book called What's My Body Telling Me? So, yeah.
Mate, get all that on a t-shirt. You just totally
It's like the Star Wars credits. Don't.
and shared it many, many times. But I love that. And what stood out to me the most is that where you are right now has been built from lived experience, but also your ability to see patterns. And you've put everything together in that it's just sort of gone one thing to the next thing to be like, what is going on here? And looking underneath, because that's what society doesn't do. Like you were saying
Mm,
before with pop culture, it's all about the quick fixes and looking on the surface rather than actually looking deeper. So you mentioned female fundamentals. Tell us
mhm.
about that because, yeah, I love that you've put all of this together to make the whole puzzle piece because, as you said, there's often one thing missing.
Yeah. And I think that's when I learned all this information, I'm like, cool. More information means what? I'm sure there's a lot of people listening to this that might know a lot more about a very intricate topic than I would because you've researched it to within an inch of your life. We have access to ChatGPT, Claude, all this AI, Google. You can get information anywhere. But the thing is, it depends on how you ask the question and what response you're going to get back. So we're not starving of information, we're actually starving of wisdom. And my whole thing is, how can I help connect you back into your body so that you can listen to this symptom and actually understand what it's trying to say? So the female fundamentals, really, when I pieced together all of my learning, I was like, okay, well, some people, like, it's the microbiome, it's fasting, it's insulin resistance. That's the problem. It's like, look at any Diary of a CEO podcast. It's like, whatever's hot, they're going to get an expert on. And absolutely, those things matter and they do make an impact, like highly intelligent people. But what I figured was, well, instead of just focusing on the thyroid or the brain or the gut or the adrenal glands, what is the common denominator in all of them?
Yeah.
They are all made of our human cells. And if we know and trust and believe that the body is always looking out for us, it's the solution, not the problem. If we give the cells what they need, then the body knows what to do. We just get out of its way. It's not the problem. The symptoms are actually helping us. At the moment, I have a cold sore on my lip. If anyone's watching this, you might be able to see it. And the other day, I was doing an in-person talk with my mum, which was beautiful. I'm like, what are the chances that I have this cold sore on my face before I do this thing? And I was really frustrated. I'm like, I didn't want it and all stuff. And then I just started laughing because the cold sore came out. I was in Bali speaking there, and I went to this Reiki Balinese healer, like from a lineage of healers. I got given his name by one of the locals. And straight away afterwards, he was like, oh, your throat chakra and sacral, all the things, read it. Straight away afterwards, I got this cold sore come out. I got all these mouth ulcers and like inflamed gums. And I had no warning. Normally, if I get a cold sore, it's from burning my lips, and I wasn't really in the sun much there. Or if I've been with the wrong partner, it comes out. This came out, all of that came out after I'd finished my Reiki with him.
Interesting. That's the energetic part, isn't it?
Exactly. So that's that energetic where we have those things. But then the four fundamentals is really what I pieced together in going, okay, well, instead of going, okay, is it my thyroid? Is it my gut? Is it my blood sugars? Is it my adrenals? Is it my brain? What do I do with my hair? Is it this one supplement that's going to fix me? Is this peptide? Is it ice baths? Is it saunas?
Yeah.
It's really just about caring for your four fundamentals, which is your nervous system, metabolism, nutrients, and blood sugars. And when you care for all four of them, that gives the foundations of every cell, and then you just move out of your body's way. And it's really actually simple. Like, a lot of people that I see might have really chronic, debilitating issues, and they've been to the doctor, they don't need medication or surgery, or possibly they've been told that they need to take medication for the rest of their life, but haven't been told why what's happening is happening and how to actually address the underlying root. So it's like, actually just come back to this layer and address those fundamentals and see how your body shifts and changes. Your symptoms will fall away. It's actually pretty simple. A lot of these people haven't, like, do you eat enough throughout the day? Or are you the mum that's, oh, I quickly made my kids breakfast and I eat their scraps, and then I'm working, and then I look at the clock and I'm like, oh, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I haven't had lunch yet. And then you're running. And then at the end of the day, the kids are in bed and you're like, oh, here's my time for me. And then you stay up really late. And it's like, okay, well, it's no wonder you have all these symptoms coming out.
Yeah.
It's not that you need, oh, all of a sudden now your thyroid is in trouble. Well, when did that start? Oh, it actually started when these things changed in my life. And then my fundamentals were off. Let's just come back, make it really simple, and 95% of the time, it solves people's issues.
Totally 100% agree, because in my work, I do the same in going to the root of your imprints and where you have learned the way that you operate. Do you find that people, though, don't want it to be simple because it almost needs to be complicated because that's how they've dealt with everything? Like, do you find that they want it to be simple, or do they push back?
They want it to be simple if it's a pill.
Yeah.
So like if it's a panacea is like a cure-all. You take this one thing, it's going to fix everything.
Yeah.
Which is like what a lot of people do in marketing. This thing's going to fix everything, but like that's rarely the case with anything. Yeah. So I think some people can get caught up in, I'll explain this in a bit of an analogy, and I've used this before, but it's how your brain works. There's a lot of different components of your brain. people listening might be experts in the brain or might have heard things like the amygdala or the limbic system or the cerebellum or the frontal lobe. What you can think of them is in three hubs, and it's called the triple brain network. A lot of like Huberman and like on different podcasts, you might have heard people talk about it now. Like a lot of psychiatry texts will now refer to it in this way. But basically, there's three main hubs of the brain, and different components are hubbed into each of those three. One part is responsible for our body. The technical term is called the salience network, and it's responsible for what am I detecting inside the body that's important, and what am I detecting outside the body that's important. So right now, if we're talking and the smoke detector goes off, you're not going to pay attention to anything that I'm saying. You're going to be thinking, I need to do something. What's happening with that? Yeah. Same as if I've just come back from Bali. If all of a sudden I get hit with some latent Bali belly, I am not going to be focusing on what is happening here. Internally, my body's going to give me the signal of you need to go to the toilet, right? Because I have that internal signal. So this is that part of our brain is responsible for what we sense inside our body. It's the same as it senses what our body temperature is, how many calories we've eaten, how much iron we have, all of those things. Then we have the part of our brain which is called the central executive network, and that's responsible for what we do or action. But it's action that is task orientated. So it's something we have to focus on. So it's like when you first learn to drive a car, you're often exhausted. But now when you drive, you're like, oh, did I stop at that stop sign? You're calling people, you're thinking about what someone said to you 20 years ago. You're not even focusing on what you're doing because it's become automatic. So that's the action part of our brain. And then we have the third and final part, which is called the default mode network. And this is the story part of our brain, which is what you were talking about before, where we all have like these imprints and these ingrained behaviors and beliefs that have come about from our lived experience throughout our life. So the default mode network, this is our story, a story about ourselves, a story about other people, and a story about the world. So like you could have a story of money doesn't grow on trees, right? So some people have had that imprinted in them. Money's easy to make. That's a belief that they have. But stories, this part of the brain is predictive. It is like asking ChatGPT a question. You could ask ChatGPT, how do I build a bomb? You could ask it, how do I build a business plan? You could ask it, how do I write this birthday card for my sister? It's going to give you an answer. So it's the same with this part of our brain. If you ask it a question, it's going to give you an answer. Whether it's a good answer or whether it's a good question is a whole other kettle of fish. But when we aren't in our body and we aren't in action, we default to our story. Every single person does.
Yeah.
So this is where a lot of us, like if we're ruminating or if we're feeling stuck, it's a sign that we're in our story. And the only way that we get out of it is if we get into our body or we get into an action that we have to focus on. So that's why we feel amazing if we're like, oh, I'm trying to solve this issue with work and this relationship thing. You're thinking about it, and you're like, is it a past thing, or this is because my dad was an a-hole to me when I was younger and I keep picking these guys, like whatever the thing is, right? We can ruminate and then we can try and solve it from that. And a lot of the trauma research, and I did some training with Bessel van der Kolk as well, the guy that wrote The Body Keeps the Score. We use the body as the key. So get into the body, feel and process it through the body, and then take an action with how the body wants to move, not the story. Because the story will keep you looping.
Yeah.
Body is the key, which is what I find fascinating. If you also know that energy is neither created nor destroyed, it's just transformed. So we want to plug into our thinking, our feeling, and our doing. We want to be able to move through all of them. But a lot of us, like what you're saying, do people just want it to be more complex than it needs to be? A lot of the people that I see are stuck in story and action. They're like, it's this. I've done all the research. Now I'm going to do this thing. And they're doing it because they want to avoid a feeling underneath of some kind. And their body's just mirroring it out to them. So that's like the energetics part of what we work with as well.
Absolutely love that. That's why I have lots of clients. Because they're trying to bypass their emotions.
Yeah.
It's because being taught how to feel. Like you're really lucky to, in your family of origin, that you've had that story and that imprint that, you know, I've got a headache, and that you've been asked to think, okay, what's your body telling you, rather than say, here's a Panadol. Because I think that that is how many people have grown up, especially when it's been based around the behaviorist paradigm of if you're a good girl and a good boy, then you'll be okay. And that has taught so many adults who were children to override whatever is happening inside their body and to look externally then and to do something, like you said. And then they create the belief around, if I do this to be a good girl or boy, then I won't need to feel what's going on. So When you start to work with someone, how do you encourage them? Do you start with them building their interoception? Like, where do you start with them?
Mm. So I find when we haven't been comfortable, it depends on the person, but a lot of the times when we're very strong intellectually and through the story part of our brain, we want to understand it. I will often explain briefly that triple brain network. So then they conceptually understand, oh, there's a point to me feeling.
Mm.
Okay. So you have buy-in. We need that first. Otherwise, if I just go, just feel your feelings, I'd be like, this is a waste of time. There's an actual benefit to you feeling, because that's the first thing is why we don't want to feel initially is because we think there's no benefit.
Yeah.
The other thing is recognizing that when you fully feel it, you are going to be okay. It's when we resist it that we get the emotions held in our body. So I often, have you ever, like when you were younger and you're at school and you were laughing hysterically with a friend and you were not meant to be laughing,
Oh.
like, and you're like, I'm going to get in trouble, right? What do you do when you hold in the laughter? You resist and you're like, oh, like my belly hurts, or like I've got this tension in my body. It's like, because you're resisting it. Whether you resist happiness, laughter, anger, sadness, grief, name the emotion,
Mhm.
it is just suffering. It causes suffering in our body. It's like pain times resistance equals suffering. So the more you resist, the more you suffer. So that's how I'll explain and frame it up. And then it is purely going into the sensation. So interoception. Some people, if it's hard to detect interoception, we work with exteroception. So focus on things that you can see or you can smell or you can taste, you can touch that's outside, and then gently you're coming in. This is what I had to do for myself. I remember working with a lady online, and she actually did the training that we did, but the more senior one.
Mhm.
And she was like doing kinesiology. She's like, I think you need to get up and move. And she was like shaking. She was like feeling for me. I'm like, this lady is like, now we're very good friends. And now before I do a session with her, I'm like, I want to peel the skin off my back. I can just feel all the things. I just want to move and shake. And I'm thinking, oh my, I frequently laugh because how I felt at the very beginning of working with her, I thought I was so in tune with the body because
Yeah.
of how I've grown up and I know so much. I've done all these degrees and I'm obsessed with the body. I can look at someone and know if they have a thyroid issue or they have a nerve root lesion somewhere, or they've got some, I can look at someone and know. But it's like, yeah, but can you actually tune into your own body
Yeah, I
and
think that's
feel?
the biggest thing, isn't it?
So it starts with understanding, particularly if you're mental, and often that is what's going to be happening.
Oh,
Understand conceptually, understand the point, and then know that no amount of understanding will replace you feeling it. You
yeah.
cannot.
No.
Talking about your feelings is not feeling your feelings. Explaining the story behind them, explaining the trauma, explaining the 20 years ago this thing happened, that's not feeling it. And it took me a long time to recognize that and just go, oh, I'm feeling this sensation in my throat. I don't even have to name the emotion. I can just feel the sensation.
It's a huge part of what I work with parents on because there's so much talk. Like social emotional learning is getting some airtime, which is awesome.
Mm.
So many parents want their kids to be able to name the emotions when in fact, like their job is to be the co-regulators. And it's the same with us really as adults. Just having a safe space to express your emotion because it really is simple, but we've never been shown. And like you said before, I'm really glad that you brought that up. Most people are so afraid of the pain that is going to come with feeling the emotion because they think that, and often with people experiencing trauma, it's like they're going back to the trauma,
Mm.
when in reality, you're just finishing the stress cycle that you were never
Mm.
able to complete. And so
Yeah.
the actual emotion isn't as painful as what we make in our head. But I think that that's the protective system also that we've formed over so many years to stop us from feeling what was supposed to be felt in that time. Like what you just described, I think has been all of us, especially millennials. Like we're so many of the mums I work with are millennial mums who are wanting to raise emotionally intelligent children. And so they have to do this work and embody it themselves in order to really understand how to do that with their kids. And I think what
Mm.
you just spoke to is where all of us have been, in that even if we start the journey and we're able to explain every tiny thing about our emotions and our trauma or the things we've experienced, nothing replaces, like you said, or nothing actually helps you become more emotionally intelligent other than feeling the actual emotion.
Which, if someone is listening to this and you're like, I think I'm doing that, that's what I thought I was doing. I'm like, okay, I can explain this. I can like spot these patterns now in other people. And
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, that's also not feeling your feeling. Like now you're just putting that on other people. And now what? You want to be the expert in this now. Now you're doing courses in it. And now you're doing this. And we have like I'm not saying everyone does that by all means, but we can find it really interesting and we might want to help other people. And that is fantastic and great, particularly when you can help with your kids. But the best way you do it is you embody it.
Yeah.
You are it. You're not just talking about it.
Yeah.
And I wrote my book called What's My Body Telling Me? And for goodness sake, I still am like, I have to remember to stop and go, what is my body actually trying to tell me with this? Because you can get caught up. Like the world is fast paced. You want to do things, particularly if you're ambitious and you have kids and you want to have a business and you want to have all these different things in your life and be super in all of it.
Yeah.
A lot of the times the body becomes the last thing. We don't lead from the body, but that's what I really endeavor to do. And I'm only like 2 years into my business. And for the first couple of years, and we can get into the story, it blew up really quick and I was the only one and it was a whole thing. And my nervous system was completely fried. And I was doing all the things. But now it's about going, okay, well, I want to actually lead this from my body. Like what actually feels good in my body? And why am I even having my own business to start with?
Yeah, exactly.
So then I can lead and create how I want to. So it's, if everyone could use their body to tell them, I think the world would be such a better place.
Oh my God. Well, most of society, honestly, I feel like are just walking around in their own heads. Like connection is just no one's stopping to connect because they're all on their phones. Like, and we all fall trap to this. Like the mums that I work with, they are doing what you just explained in that it's just one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. Like they'll say, oh, after this launch, I'll slow down. Or after my kid does their school concert, then things will slow down. But the reality is life is never slowing down unless you are intentionally creating that and saying that this is how I want to live my life. Like this is how I want to design my life. Like you just said, you can have all the great intentions of like starting your business and being like, I'm going to just work the hours that I want and do this and do that. But then when it does take off, like yours did too, it's more about the capacity and the visibility. Like what did you actually come up against, Anthea, in terms of, you said your nervous system was shot. What was the biggest contributor? Was it because you had less capacity or you were juggling all the things? Was it visibility? Was it all of it?
It was, I would say it was all of it. So basically the story goes, chiropractor, left my very stable, high paying job to go, okay, I really want to create a space for these women that are lost in the space between to come to. I don't necessarily really know exactly what that looks like, but I'm going to give it a crack because I don't have anywhere to send them now. So I want to be that person and create that for the world. So then I started building my own business in that online. And I was also writing my book and I was also finishing the functional medicine course and doing the training with you and also doing a marketing thing. Anyway, crazy, right? Love to stimulate the brain and just give me more, right? And then I think back now, I'm like, what was I doing? And it's just me. No VA, no help, no support, just me. And then I finished the book and I was like, oh my gosh, thank goodness. Like that's one of the things done. And the other courses and things are wrapped up too. I'm like, okay, great. And I'm like, oh, I actually probably need to like advertise that I've got this book. Like I've finished it. I was like, oh, that's done. Great. Oh, I should probably tell people about it. So then I had like an Instagram page that I'd put up things sporadically when I had time. I think I had like 2,000 followers or something on there. I'm like, oh, I don't know. I'll put something up on here. Do I do a carousel? I don't know. I'll just go for a skateboard and figure it out afterwards when I come back. And then I was skating. I was like, oh, here's an idea. I'll just tell people who I am and what I do and like basically a snapshot of what I just said. Filmed it on my skateboard, posted it, didn't think anything of it. Opened my phone the next morning and it was like, I think I was up to like 8,000 followers overnight. And I was like, what? That's crazy. And then it kept going up and up and up and up. And then within a week, and it was the week of my book launch, it was really cool because a lot of my friends and family were here to celebrate. So everyone was sort of riding the wave at the same time. A lot of my friends were like, did you see? Did you look? All the things. I'm like, I know, it's crazy. And the morning of my book launch, I hit 50,000 followers and I was literally shaking. So when you say like, was it the scene thing? So my whole nervous system was like, what is going on? Like to go from 2,000 people to now 50,000 people. And I'll skateboard around the loop that I used to live. And there was a lady on her balcony being like, are you that skateboarding doctor? I'm like, what is happening? This is crazy. And then, yeah, I got 100,000 followers from that one video. It hit 100,000 followers like within the next, like, I think it was 10 days or something, really short period of time. And I had 7,000 unread emails of people that were reaching out to be like, pouring their heart and soul out. This is what's going on with me. Can you help me? I'm trying to find it. And it was just me in my business. And I had no product other than my book and one-on-one stuff with me, which I was severely undercharging, had no profit margin on, was stressed out of my mind, no idea what the hell I was doing. And it's like, so to answer your question, absolutely, my nervous system was fried. Not having the capacity, nor the systems, nor the support to be able to handle what came in.
Totally.
And at the same time, I was also going through and sort of basically healing my own past traumas of suppressed memories that I had from a child. I wrote about it in my book, so I was sharing that. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to tell my family about that. So there's all this private stuff. Now I'm all of a sudden in the spotlight. I don't even have a business structure. What am I going to do? Everyone's like, this is incredible and amazing. And I'm like, it doesn't feel like it in my body. This feels like I'm under attack, but through the best way. So it was this weird, like, my body was like, this is not okay. My brain was like, this is meant to be amazing. Like, be grateful. There's no way in hell I would have seen that coming. No one could plan it. Like, it was just crazy. So to answer your question, yes, it was the being seen. Now there's like over 200 and something thousand. So that's like, my brother's like, that's like over 2 MCGs. I'm like, don't tell me. Like, I don't need to. But now I'm like, okay, it normalizes. I think that's the thing with the nervous system, right? You build the capacity, it stretches. I think that was a bit too fast of a stretch. But now it's really great because over the last 2 years, I've tried to navigate what the best way it is that my business can support people. There's been a lot of learnings, a lot of tears, a lot of celebration, mixed emotions in it all, which has been, that's life. It's messy, but it's building something that I really care about. So yeah, it's been really cool. And it's nice to now feel a lot more regulated and have support and build it. Because it's like, okay, if you're building something big, and this is clearly an issue that a lot of people have, you got to build it in a way that's sustainable for me and feels good in my body and also my mind. And that's what it's pairing both. It's not just, this is such a good idea and let's take action, but forget about how it feels.
Yeah.
Because as you said before, with that example of, oh, I'll rest when the launch is done, or I'll rest when whatever we're saying, those are stories that I used to tell myself all the time. I'll rest when this master's is done, start the second one before I've even finished the first one. Dad's like, what are you doing? You're crazy. It's like, so there's obviously something underneath that I was trying to avoid.
Yeah.
And there's the constant doing. We're the doers. Like, we're really comfortable doing, but we do not want to stop and feel. Like, what's the thing you're trying to avoid feeling? And what I realized the other day even is from that feeling, I felt very overwhelmed from that whole situation. And for the last 2 years, I've been trying to avoid that feeling of overwhelm again, because it was big. And in doing so, I've created overwhelm.
Yeah, I'm laughing because I can relate to all of it, honestly. This is why business is the biggest, like, personal development upgrade and also healing. Like, I've been through the same in terms of healing all of my own stuff as well, throughout also having 2 children and running a business and starting another company with my partner. And he works full time as well. And so, like you said, your capacity just gets stretched. But if you know how to widen it, like in a safe and healthy way, like, you obviously have the tools and the knowledge too to be able to reach into a toolkit. Because most people that experience that and don't have the toolkit or the knowledge or the ability to actually embody the tools and use them end up really, really unwell. And they're probably the ones who are coming to see you. Because I think it's really amazing also that you've shed light on what has happened for you, because I think a lot of mums in business too think that once they have the success, they're just going to feel great. But in reality, business is always up and down. Like, there are always so many more challenges. This is why emotional intelligence as a skill set is just a must have. You just can't run a business sustainably and in a healthy way without the skill set, because if you're not aware and you can't tap back in and self-regulate, you do end up chronically ill. And funny that I can really relate to avoiding the feelings and just doing the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. When I was going through the Midas coach, I definitely, like, I did all the things too. I did nervous system practitioner with Jess McGuire, and I did Dare to Lead training and all of that stuff. Like, I don't regret, and I love it. And it has really helped me. But at the same time, I know that it was a period of where the underlying beliefs were definitely like, you're not smart enough, you need more qualifications in order to be enough to be good at what you do. And all of those parts were driving those choices. And even after having a second child, that became really apparent, which was great because it allowed me to tap back in and heal those parts. Whereas now I'm building the modern day mum stuff from a really regulated foundation where there's no urgency or scarcity. It's more about, like you said, tapping back into your body and asking yourself, how do I want this to feel? Because if you want a business forever, like, let's face it, we're never going back to work for anyone. Like, how could you ever do that? I could not. I could not be told what to do. So if you want to be here for the long run, and I don't think you think about that when you start though, because it's so exciting. And like you said, you know that you can help all of these people, and obviously, you know, you became successful overnight pretty much, and that is so much to handle all at once. I just also want to point out though, I remember you telling me when I was in your DMs this week of this happening, you were like, oh my God, I shouldn't have spoken to my grandma. I asked her, I never forget this. You're like, show me how good it can get.
Yeah.
And then I asked for this.
And I will say, it seems like an overnight success, but obviously there's so much that went into that. But yes. And yeah, can connect with this is my woo-woo side. I can connect with my grandma who's passed on now 14 years. But when it was going up and up and up, like the follower count or whatever, I'm like, oh my gosh, imagine if it gets to 20,000, 25, 30, like how your mind just goes up in sort of those increments. And then I was like, you know what? Do worse. Let's do it. Come on, bring it on. I can handle it. And then I was like, oh, whoa, okay. So now really where I'm building from, and I really love that. A lot of the times we build from our wounds, and I'm not sure whether because you do human design.
Yeah.
Human design? Yeah. So Amy Lee, who's a famous human design reader and astrologer, she was actually on the retreat as well that I was speaking at. She was speaking too. And she mentions that a lot of us build our businesses from our not self, which is a lot like if we don't have certain centers, and you probably have similar centers to me by the sounds of what you're saying, we often build from a lot of pressure and drive, and it's like force, like we're pushing. And also we're being driven from I'm not enough, or there's not enough. And when I say those things, if you're listening, how do you feel in your body when I say that? I know for me, I've instantly got chest pain when I say that. It's like, okay, well, you can do and do and do and do and do. And if you're doing to avoid the feeling underneath, you can't. It doesn't go away. You're just resisting it with action. Sorry, it doesn't work that way. So it's really cool to build from a feeling. And like, this is Joe Dispenza work. This is manifestation 101. It's like build from the feeling that you want. And sometimes I was even doing an exercise yesterday that's around wants. So being okay with the wanting, not even with the thing that you want. You don't have it yet, but like be so in love with the feeling of the wanting. Like how amazing is that when you know, for instance, you're going on holidays and the flight's on Friday, today's Monday, and you're so excited because you know on Friday it's going to be there. You're not on the flight, you're not on the holiday yet, but you're in the wanting. So it's how we can have that. But I think a lot of us, and I don't know whether you've realized this, Emma, but I notice it more in myself from it, and what I can see in a lot of the women that I work with is that when there was that big of a stress on the whole world and it was so macro that there's so much out of our control, what I've sort of realized in the last couple of days is I'm like, oh, that really affected my wanting, like my feeling good in my wanting and my desire. Because I'm like, oh, well, I'll just make it work. But then when certain things happen, we have no control. It's like, maybe it's unsafe to want things. And particularly if we have chronic patterns and loops, like I see people with chronic health stuff.
Totally.
And I have just last week, I saw two women and they have had issues for 10 plus years where they're like, oh I'm always bloated, or I have no energy, my hair's falling out, all these different things. And after a month of them doing, like us investigating and then making the changes that we recommend, I get on the call and they're like, oh, so yeah, like I'm sleeping so much better. I have so much more energy. My gut's gone away. And that's how they're explaining it. I'm like, what do you mean? Like you've had this for 10 years and you've literally just made these targeted changes that we've recommended for the last month. And a lot of them have largely been removed. And that's how you're talking. But a lot of them then say, oh, but it could just be in my head.
Yeah, totally.
Or I'm worried that it won't be forever. And I think there's that, oh, well, it's safer to not want, so then I won't be disappointed, as opposed to having that expectation. But the thing is, it's like you get what you're wanting to go towards. So that's a nervous system piece where it's about
Yeah.
how can you feel safe to hold the capacity of this is what I want,
Yeah. Totally.
which is a big, big thing. When you can have that, that's a sign of a really healthy nervous system, I would say. Because you're like, I'll say something to myself in the mornings where I'll say, let life love me. I'm going
Yeah.
to let life love me today. And
Yeah.
it's like when I say that, I feel so open in my body. Like
Yeah.
the actual sensation in my body, I often get like goosebumps and tingles and it feels open. Versus when I'm not like that, often there's some form of this protection. I have
Yeah.
some form of protection against something in the world, which is
Yeah.
really cool. Mm.
Well, and it makes sense though, doesn't it? Because for so long that protected them in a way. So it's rewiring
Mm. The
to
body doesn't do things by accident. It was doing it to help support you. But
right.
now that thing that was adaptive has become maladaptive.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Permission to desire. Yeah, it feels
Mm.
scary though. Before we go, because I think we could speak for many, many hours, a lot of the mothers that I work with, obviously being mothers, they go through matrescence. And this isn't something that I learned about until I became a business owner, really, because started connecting with more people on Instagram. And now, fortunately, matrescence has definitely, come to the forefront.
Mhm.
I just think about my personal experience too of growing, birthing, feeding two children, and I'm still postpartum, which we're postpartum forever, really. But the crazy things that our bodies go through, and then it's like we're just expected to resume normal functioning. And, for us who are business owners, just build businesses and be okay with looking after everyone and then try and look after ourselves, and then we have partners and all the things. What do you see the most in terms of what postpartum mothers need with support? Because the hormone changes, oh my God, it's just, and the lack of sleep on the nervous system, all the things.
Mm. Well, it's always about supporting all four of those fundamentals. But like metabolism, for instance, that's like your light environment. That's often circadian health, and that's going to be changing a lot.
Mm.
But also, we need to remember that pregnancy, our bodies know how to do it.
Yeah.
We know how to do it. The thing is, pregnancy and then having a business and the stresses of that, and then all the other stresses of life are not what our evolution has been prepared for. So yes, we do adapt to less sleep, and then eventually, ideally, we get more sleep as the baby gets older. But really, if I don't know how single parents do it, that's going to be really tough. If you can have any form of support to help you, great. But really, it's about doing the most that you can to support yourself first, which seems really backwards.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not a mum. I'm taking this from what my mum said. I'm one of 5 kids. She's grown a business across Australia. She's a very, very astute businesswoman and has had 5 kids. And I just did a talk with her actually on the weekend about it.
Mhm.
And she always says, fit your own oxygen mask before assisting others. And I think there's some conditioning around being selfish that needs to be removed there.
The mum guilt stuff, just.
Yes, the mum guilt.
Yeah.
And also, she said an interesting thing because one of her friends said, at the talk, all you need to say is that women can't have it all. You just need to tell women they can't have it all. And my mum was like, what? And I can see your face, Emma, too. You're like, don't tell me that, right? But mum's like, we can have it all. You just can't have it all at once. It's like there's seasons. And that is the beauty of life. There's seasons in nature. There's seasons within us. If you're not pregnant or postpartum, you'll have that natural menstrual cycle that has seasons within that month, and we have seasons within our life. So a lot of the time, what my mum mentions is back when she was having kids, there was no Instagram.
Yeah.
There was no ChatGPT. There was no, there was more sense of community. She'd go to the park in between working and doing all the things she was doing with the kids, with other mums of the mothers group. And they'd be like, yeah, I wanted to strangle my kid this week too. Or I want to do this. Or, oh, they've got this rash. What do you do with this? Or, so it was very community based, and you didn't feel like you were trying to outdo or everything had to be perfect. I have to be amazing in all these areas of my life. I was like, no, this is the cycle and this is the time for this. Yeah. And this is what I'm doing. And I do the best that I can. But again, it often comes back to the level of your priorities. And I would say, again, I haven't been a mum. This is me taking this on. And if I can, you as the number one priority every time, because your kids aren't going to get the best out of you if you aren't the number one. So it's understanding what you fundamentally need as a person, but then also taking care of those fundamentals. So ideally, if you can get better sleep, great. If you're nourishing yourself, particularly postpartum, if you're breastfeeding as well, your nutrients, like you've used so much of them to grow this amazing baby, you need to replenish yourself. Like otherwise, I see so many women that have a baby and then they don't replenish, and then they have another baby and then they have another baby.
Yeah.
And then they're just chronically exhausted. And unfortunately, if you see someone that's not as educated as a practitioner in this area, they're like, oh, well, of course you're tired. You're a new mum. It's like, I actually need to nourish and support myself. If I've been taking those actions and then I still feel tired, okay. But no, that's not the case.
No, I've
Yeah.
sent so many people to you.
Yeah.
Because it is the foundations, and just because, like you said at the start, it's common doesn't mean that it's normal, and I think that we do that. We're like, "Oh, of course, like, you're a mum now, so you're gonna be tired for the rest of your life," and it's like, "No, that's not a thing." It's just that we
And
like.
it's self-perpetuating. If you think you're going to be tired for the rest of your life, then you'll probably have that. But
Yeah,
if you know that it's not normal, yes, know that your life's going to change. Hello, how is it not going to? You're in a new season. Hello, welcome.
yeah,
You have to adapt and change to this, but it's also give yourself grace, give yourself compassion, then also know that, oh, how do I actually support myself best in
yeah.
this state? Like you have to. You just always have to.
I would say go and see Anthea and get your bloods and a mineral test done, hair test done, so that you can figure out what's going on for you underneath and address all of the different female fundamentals. Before we go, Anthea, I would love to know though, what does being a modern day mum mean to you? I know you're not a mum yet, but if you were, or if you are going to be one day, what do you see as the modern day mum?
Hmm. I would say a modern day mum is the one that leads her life and her family from the body. So how she feels, because you set the tone. You set the tone for yourself. You set the tone for if you have a business. You set the tone for your family, your kids' nervous systems. You set the tone. So the modern day mum is someone that prioritizes herself, listens to her body, and leads the family knowing that there's always cycles for everything.
Absolutely love that. That is the best. Thank you. Keep sharing everything that you're doing. You're honestly phenomenal. And I just feel like we are so lucky to have someone who is really in this space helping people or helping women who are in the space between, because I know so many women like this and I have been this woman as well. So thank you so much, Anthea. You are an absolute legend.
Thanks so much for having me.